Hello everyone, I'm the Pretty Ugly Truth and today we have another Prager U video. Today we're going to be talking about He Wants You. I'm not really going to explain much because the video is going to do much of the explaining itself. So without further ado, let's begin.
The London newspaper, the Daily Mail, listed the top 10 problems experienced by couples on vacation together. And topping the list was the man looking at other women in bikinis on the beach. Now, in another Prager University course, I explained the sexual power of the visual on men. And as I show, and as anyone readily understands, unless they've been misled by a politically correct college course, the power of the visual to excite men has no analog in women. Women don't get excited by virtually every male body at the beach. Male legs don't turn them on like female legs turn men on.
My argument with this is that you have to believe in individuality and also understand that people's interpretation of things differs widely. You can't say that all men behave this way or all women behave this way because, once again, individuality has to come into effect. Also, it's unfair to say that these legs don't turn women on as much as women's legs turn the man's on because, first off, you have one pair of legs look like they're being taken over by maggots, and while the woman's legs are sitting here completely spotless.
Etc., etc. It takes massive willpower, in fact, for a heterosexual man not to look at bikini-clad women. And few men, even the nicest, finest, and most monogamously faithful and loving, have such willpower.
Okay, once again, I completely disagree. I mean, it doesn't even take any willpower or to be nice just to not look at other women like that.
So the Daily Mail notes, this frequently causes problems when a couple's itinerary includes a visit to the beach. And what exactly is the problem? The problem is that the wife or girlfriend feels threatened by his looking. And why does she feel threatened? Because she thinks he is comparing her to those women.
Later on, he's going to very well prove my point when he says that do men find these women attractive? And he's going to say sometimes yes. Well, the fact that you even remotely find any interest in a woman except the one you're supposed to be loyal to already proves your disloyalty. Also, if a man looks this way at a woman, who wouldn't be concerned? It doesn't even have to be a man. Just any spouse or whoever you're with this type of look on their face, it is pretty disturbing.
And why does this disturb her? Here are 3 reasons. First, virtually every woman, no matter how attractive, thinks that when her man is looking at other women in general, and in bikinis especially, he is finding them more attractive than her.
This guy literally dropped his jaw when his woman is sitting right beside him. That kick was well deserved.
Second, she thinks that he is therefore dissatisfied with her, which in turn arouses the unspoken but primal fear that he might leave her.
I still find it disgusting that you would be out doing an activity with your spouse and then decide to stare at another person. I also find it weird how he hasn't mentioned that what does the person who's being stared at think of all of this? Sure, some people might want to flaunt themselves in order to get attention, but other people just want to go about their day and don't want to have strangers staring them down.
I can't believe Jessie dumped you.
Oh, no. That's fake news.
What?
She didn't dump me. I dumped her.
Nick? Whoa.
Boobs. Where did those come from?
Below the neck,
Boobs.
above the waist,
Boobs.
it's definitely them.
They're looking right at me.
Okay, it's no big deal. No one will notice.
Boobs. Where did those come from?
Below the neck,
Boobs.
above the waist,
Boobs.
it's definitely them.
They're looking right at me.
Jesus. So that's how it felt.
This is an animated adult cartoon called Big Mouth, and while you can make the argument that this is just some cartoon, it's completely different when an actual person is thinking that this is okay.
And third, she is sure that her man will continue to think about these women long after they've disappeared from sight. So now let's analyze these reasons. First, does the husband or boyfriend find these women on the beach, or for that matter anywhere else, more attractive than he finds his wife or girlfriend? Well, since I believe that only honesty works in the long run, the answer is sometimes yes.
And decency. Having basic decency. That will also help in the long run. Also, if you want to be honest, just admit that this is wrong and just know that this is something you have to work on. Trying to find excuses to still do things like looking at other people, you're just trying to justify a wrong, which isn't honest.
He may very well find some of those women more physically attractive than his woman. But here's the point that most women, again, understandably don't know. With very few exceptions, it doesn't matter. You heard me right. Of course, when looking at these other women, he may find some of them more physically attractive than the woman he's with. But, and here's the good news, so what?
But I say unto you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed the sin of adultery with her in his heart. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, isn't the Father's, but is the world's. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised.
Presuming he is attracted to you, and if he isn't, it doesn't matter if you're vacationing in a monastery and all he sees are monks. He wants you. I repeat, he wants you.
I love how he repeats it, but I still stand by what I said. The fact that you stare at somebody else instead of with the person you're currently with proves your disloyalty.
And if he does, all those other women don't amount to a hill of beans. There's another thing women need to know. Within seconds of her disappearing from view, he has no memory of any of these women. When in sight, they can take over his male mind. But out of sight, they are out of mind. It's as if they never existed.
Wouldn't it just be hilarious if that's how it actually worked?
Well, time to erase that forever.
Yes, the visual gets men's total attention in a matter of seconds. But as soon as the woman he was focused on vanishes, most men forget what they saw in an equal number of seconds. Why does this come as news, and hard to believe news at that, to most women? Because you, the woman, remember the women your man looked at, and you therefore think that he too remembers them. But let me assure you, he doesn't. Most men identify the women they looked at the hour before, let alone the day before, if they were shown photos of them along with photos of women they had never seen.
He probably can't tell you which one of these women were the one that did whatever it is that they did because the face probably isn't what he was looking at.
And more good news. His seeing women who he thinks for that moment are more attractive than you has no bearing whatsoever on his being quote-unquote dissatisfied with you. Men find other women attractive in large measure just because they are other women.
I really hope this is common sense, but women, men, or whoever's watching this, please understand that all people aren't like this and that this is completely subjective.
Men are programmed by nature to want variety. Indeed, endless variety. God-fearing King Solomon had 700 wives and another 300 concubines, and secular Hugh Hefner had at least that many lovers.
Comparison is the thief of joy. Teddy Roosevelt.
In sum, then, when your man looks at these other, perhaps even more attractive women, he is A, not comparing you to them, B, not in any way becoming dissatisfied with you, and C, certainly not thinking of them later. He looks at them because they are other women, whether they are more attractive, just as attractive, or less attractive. They are women in bikinis, so he looks.
I mean, if you're going to stare that hard, who wouldn't be suspicious? I wonder how the woman who's being looked at feels about this, too. That's almost never brought up throughout this entire video.
Where there is basic domestic harmony and mutual physical attraction, more than anything your husband wants you. When he looks, he isn't comparing, he isn't getting dissatisfied, and he won't have a clue later as to who he is. So when you're back in your hotel room, put on your own bikini and tell him you want him. Because again, more than anyone else in the world, he wants you. And if you don't believe me, ask him.
It's a good thing lying no longer exists.
And so will he. I'm Dennis Prager.
Well, I believe I made my point abundantly clear. And so I leave it at this note.
Yo, fellas, so what my girl wants to wear a short skirt? It'd be hot in Virginia. I'm gonna wear a skirt.
Me too, I wanna be seen.
You look like a prostitute, but it's not obscene.
If I got the goods and my body is rocking, ain't nothing wrong with a window shopping.
I get looked at all the time, like tons and tons and tons of times. How much is normal to get looked at? You can double that. That's how much I get looked at. It's pretty annoying sometimes, but you live with it when you're hecka good looking.
See, rubbernecking just ain't no crime.
We're doing it just to pass the time.
We might look, but you'll go home with only you.
My eyes may wander, but my heart comes home.
Comes home,
my eyes may wander, but my heart comes home.
Comes home.
If Francine wasn't my mama, Lord, you know I'd try to bone.
Come on, Steve.
Lord, I've learned my lesson.
Lord, I've learned my lesson.